Back in 2008, myself and another guy named Pete and another guy named Sam, we started this Cars and Coffee in the Boston area. At the time, Cars and Coffee wasn't really a big thing outside of Irvine. And I think a guy we knew like took a bunch of pictures in Irvine, California, and we're like, oh my God, we gotta do that in Boston. So in 2008, we had one just outside of Boston, this town called Woburn, and like 400 cars showed up. And that was when like the E90 M3 kind of came out. So there's a ton of those were there. There were a couple 911 turbos, like a Ferrari showed up, which in 2008 in Boston was like crazy. Around the same time, I met a little boy named Ricky Hoffman, who was terminally ill with cancer. And his parents were great people. They were just people you wanted to be around and do something for. So we decided he loved cars, and a friend of ours had a helicopter at an airport in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And we said, let's do a Cars and Copters car show, and we'll invite Ricky and he can check out the cars. We had him and his family down, and first one we had was in 2009. Maybe we had like 400 cars show up and like 6, 7, 8 helicopters. So Ricky got to go for a ride in a Ferrari Testarossa. He thought it was unbelievable. We got a photo of him like doing a thumbs up, pulling away. Got a ride in a helicopter. Like it was one of like the last things he did before he passed away. I want to say he was 8, 9, 10 years old, something like that. So anyway, he passed away shortly thereafter, and up until 2014, every year we did a Cars and Copter in honor of Ricky. And we raised money for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston. And it became something for me that, you'd be in tears by the end of the event because it was so moving for the parents and the people and so on and so forth. You really couldn't put words to it. Cars and Copters started out with 400 cars, 600 cars, 800 cars, 1,000 cars. We go from 6, 7, 8 helicopters to 25 helicopters. So we're at the Plymouth Municipal Airport, which is a small private airport. It's like MedFlight, which is the emergency helicopter would fly out of there. There would be small planes that fly to Cape Cod, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, Boston. It's just a small airport, right? And they did a lot of like flight schools, both helicopter and airplanes out of there. There was a state police air wing that was there. It was just a relatively strategic location, Plymouth, Massachusetts, to be able to get to Rhode Island, get to the islands, get to Boston. It was a good spot. So Plymouth, the town of Plymouth, as well as the airport commission, once we got to that 1,000 car mark, was like, you're just too big. Like, we can't have this event in the location that we did before. We got to come up with a better idea. They decide they're going to close the airport for the day for us. And we're going to have sections of the runways and sections of the airplane hangar space that we're going to use for this event. At this point, we've got a pretty big following in the Boston area, and everyone's emailing us, texting us, calling us, Facebook messaging us, trying to be a part of this event. Vendors, people, that they want to be a part of something, and just the kind of way the car community goes when it comes to charity and so on and so forth. So somehow, if you remember, before Gawker Media changed over, Jalopnik was one of those sites that, like, if you were an automotive guy, like, you read that site a lot. And this was maybe 2011 to 15, somewhere in that range. So 2 days before the event, Jalopnik does a big article about the event. Now, mind you, we're planning for like 1,200, 1,500 cars. This is on a side road, a tiny airport, basically flanked by the ocean, and one way in, one way out. 3,500 cars show up. It's backed up for 8 miles to like a highway backup. So the highway's 4 miles away. It's backed up onto the highway. There's cars everywhere, people everywhere. Plymouth police are pissed. Airport's pissed. Everyone's angry. Ben Chen shows up. Okay. And he's in a McLaren SLR. I'll never forget, it's white with black accents or whatever. And for whatever reason, the entire sea got parted for him to be able to make his way into the event. And he got there and did the usual kind of just park the car and leave the doors and walk away and just kind of let everyone oogle over the car, and he disappears and whatever. And so if you think back to like 2013, 2014, the crazy supercar craze was not that big yet. I mean, it was just, people had Gallardos, people had R8s, there were a few Ferrari 360s and stuff that showed up. So when Ben showed up in the McLaren, that was like the car. Because at the time, from really prior to like 2017 in the Boston area, like seeing a Gallardo or seeing a 360 was like a big deal. And so we had lots of those. There were probably like 5 Gallardos, a couple Mercies, a couple Ferrari 360s that were there, a few 911 turbos. So like to have all of those cars at one event was like unbelievable. You just never saw such a thing in the Boston area. Where now Lars Anderson Auto Museum does their Cars and Coffee once a month, and it's like, how many Lambos can you put in one place? I mean, there's 20 of them. So when a Wyra shows up or a McLaren SLR shows up, it kind of changes things. But when Ben showed up in that McLaren SLR, that was big news. It was very big news. We did have a spiker that showed up as well. There's a local guy. His name's Ray. He's had one pretty much since new. And that was also one of those cars that everyone kind of went nuts over and still goes nuts over anytime he brings that car to a show. It's funny when that car was new, they couldn't give them away, and now they're worth a ton of money. But that car, as well as that McLaren SLR, were the two real showstoppers. So we're trying to like shut this event down because fire trucks can't get in, ambulances can't get in, people can't get out. So now we got the airport like allowing us to use back entrances to other side streets that they haven't used in 20 years, just like a nightmare to try to get everyone out of here. And he, of course, starts doing burnouts, trying to leave. So it's all on camera. The Plymouth police are pissed off. And that's neither here nor there, but everyone kind of knows who he is, and like him or don't like him. It wasn't the best experience. So the good news is about that day is I think we raised, I don't know, $15,000. The problem was we had the hardest time collecting money. There was people everywhere. There's people coming in from everywhere. You couldn't get people in fast enough. So people were emptying out there. There was no like set fee. It was just like donate what you can, which was kind of a mistake. But people emptying out their like change from their ashtray, like into the bucket, like trying to fill the bucket. There's like money everywhere. We probably could have raised, $50,000 from an event like this, but we raised about $15,000. But, after all was said and done, we certainly weren't allowed back to Plymouth and the Plymouth Municipal Airport. But, over that time period, we probably raised over that 5 years, $50,000, $60,000, for Dana-Farber. And it was just a really good feeling and a really great event. But every year, some Facebook like memory pops up and someone will forward it to me. And I'm not a big Facebook guy, but I'll take a screenshot and be like, yeah, we're going to do this again. I don't think they'll ever allow us back. But it was one of those like really unique, really cool events where you had a few thousand cars and a couple 20, 30 helicopters. There were helicopter rides and helicopter golf ball drops for charity and raffles and just a lot of stuff going on overall. And it was one of those events that just got out of hand all because Jalopnik posted about it 2 days prior. You get people driving from New Jersey, New York, all over the place because they wanted to be a part of such a cool event.
The Simple Lease from Premier Financial Services is the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. You get all the benefits of a lease, like the tax preference as well as the low payments, plus the benefits of a traditional loan. You can build up equity, pay it off at any time, and along the way you'll know exactly where you stand with their easy-to-understand amortization table. Premier's amazing nationwide team is standing by and ready to help you own your dream car in a way that's easier and more affordable than you could ever imagine. Whether it's a vintage Porsche, a modern McLaren, or a multi-million-dollar car collection, Premier is here to help. They've been supporting VINwiki for the last 6 years, and we certainly love them for that, but even more so, we love them because they make it easier and more affordable than you could imagine to own your dream car.